Here's one simple trick for you. You just need to replace one word with another word and it is life-changing. When I deliver IOSH training or NEBOSH training, I often hear people moaning, complaining about the way things are at work. They complain about colleagues, systems, managers. If it's a NEBOSH course, they're moaning about NEBOSH and NEBOSH exams and blah, 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 blah. Moaning about the way things should be and so on. And I encourage them to, instead of abdicating responsibility, instead of blaming other people for not doing the things the way they expect them to, I encourage them all to take responsibility for it.
Responsibility. That's what gives life meaning.
I got one the other day where someone said the health and safety manager should put the safety data sheets in the first aid room.
Well, our health and safety manager, he should make sure all the safety data sheets are in the first aid room.
So I just made a very simple suggestion. I just asked the question. I said, what could you do that would be more useful and more constructive than telling me that the safety manager needs to put things in the first aid room? See, all that person needed to do was to change the word safety manager to I, and then to change the word should to will. And so let's rephrase it. I will put the safety data sheets in the first aid room. Voila. You see, we spend a lot of time moaning, complaining, blaming, bitching about other people for the way that things are. And yet a lot of those things are actually within our control. And if not our control, then they're in our sphere of influence. To some extent, at least. Now, maybe not the big things, you know, maybe not climate change or lockdowns or Brexit or the cost of living crisis. You know, none of those things are within our control or even within our influence, a lot of them. But things at work, things at home, things in the family, there are things that we can do about that. So we should replace the word should with the word will. And we can often identify some very simple steps and start to push things in the right direction. Like, I got another one the other day when someone complained about the lack of space. So it's a common issue in factories. In factories, there's a lack of space. We've got all this equipment, it'll never get used again. It's just sat there in storage, just taking up all this room, and we haven't got space to store anything else. And I asked, okay, so what have you done about it? And he said, well, I've reported it, yeah, a few times. Okay, so what more could you do? Could you report it again? Could you report it differently? Who else could you report it to? Like, is there anything? What else? What else could you do, no matter how small, what else could you do to push this towards a solution? With a little bit of questioning, a little bit of teasing, a cajoling, a bit of prodding, this person admitted that they could actually put together a proposal on what to do with all that stuff. And so that was the first step. They accepted responsibility. Now at first they were like, oh, it's not my job, is it? So I agreed. I said, no, it's not your job. It's not your job. It's not even really your responsibility. But here you are moaning about it, and you do ultimately have a choice. It might not be your responsibility, but you can take responsibility for it, can't you? See, we can take responsibility for things which are not our job. There's an idea, isn't it? Take responsibility for things which are not our job. Wow. That's life-changing. In fact, I would almost argue that it is your responsibility to sort out the things which you know to be wrong. If it's bothering you, and it's bothering other people, and if your failure to do anything about it is causing a problem, then actually you are responsible for it. If you are not addressing it and your failure to address it is allowing the problem to continue, then actually you are responsible for it. This is Health and Safety Law 101. You remember Health and Safety Law if you've done a NEBOSH course? Health and Safety at Work Act, Section 7. People and employees should take reasonable care of the safety of themselves and others who are affected by our acts and omissions. What's an omission? It's the failure to do something which we should be doing. So if you fail to report something, so if something broken, something taking up room, something else not working very well, if you fail to report it, if you fail to challenge it, if you fail to speak to the right people, or to do anything useful about it, except for complaining, of course, then you are actually responsible for the situation, at least partly, and therefore it's up to you to act. And I would go a little bit further with this. I would take this way further. If someone isn't listening to you, so you're talking, you're complaining, you're reporting, listen, you're reporting a problem, they're not listening to you.
I mean, we're going to have to tell the Coast Guard.
Mr. Vaughn, you have to contact the shark
We're going to have to put extra
research
deputies on because
You
every
have to
in
ring
the
this
world is going to...
Well, perhaps that is also your responsibility. Your responsibility is to learn how to get them to listen. Instead of blaming them for not listening, how about you blame yourself for not being a very good communicator?
I think that I am familiar with the fact that you are going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you on the
Perhaps you need to learn how to communicate it differently. Learn how to persuade. Learn how to grab their attention.
This shark, swallow you whole.
Now, you might need to work on that. I certainly have. Like 10, 15 years ago, I was terrible at this. I was terrible at all of this. Everyone hated me.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Everyone hated me. I was a safety guy. I was a clumsy, new safety guy. And it was my fault. It wasn't other people. It wasn't their fault for hating me. I was an idiot. It was on me. So I had to work very, very hard at that and take off the rough edges. And it took me a very, very long time. And ultimately, I had to take responsibility for my own behavior and my own lack of impact on other people. So if someone's not listening to your ideas, then perhaps you need to work on how you communicate those ideas. Perhaps you need to build a better relationship with that person. You see, because we don't like listening to people we don't like.
Sign it, Larry.
Do you like listening to people you don't like? No, of course not. So if you want people to listen to you, you have to get them to like you. So build better relationships. Work out how to communicate better. So one of the things that you can do is replace the word should with the word will. So when you say they should listen, go away, my wife. When you say things like my wife shouldn't call me in the middle of making a video, you can start with, I will in future turn off my phone to make sure she doesn't interrupt me while filming the video. I'm going to get in so much trouble for turning it off. I will make sure I get into trouble. Anyway, for more help with your communication skills, including in marriage, check out our online CPD certified Managing People Effectively course. We'll teach you how to handle very difficult situations like calling your wife back after you just hung up on her. Hello? Yes, I'm sorry, I was making a video.